babies, welcome back to another episode. So let's just hop right into it. If you don't know, September is Suicide Prevention Month, so I really want to make sure that I do my part by kind of sharing some resources or some ways that you can, reach out to someone, call a trusted line where you can get the help that you are looking for. Just know that however you're feeling, no matter how alone that you feel, I promise you there is a whole network of people who are ready and willing to listen to you and be that ear, and I am one of those people. I can't offer too much because, again, I'm not licensed or anything like that, but I am a really, really good listener. So if you ever want to talk, my DMs are open. A couple months back, I had mentioned that Kaiser offered free services due to COVID-19, one of them being the Calm app, which I use very frequently. I like to use it at night and in the morning for some guided meditations, and I also like to use their mood tracker. That's something new that I've been doing just to see how my days vary so that I can see in what ways I can kind of work on it. Another thing that they have on there are some breathing exercises. So as y'all can tell from the guided meditations lately with the coherent breathing is something that I've been really trying to focus on. I think that breathing is important, obviously. That's how we sustain life, right? But really being able to control how we breathe and being mindful of when we're breathing, it just kind of gives life a whole new meaning a little bit. But another app that they offered, I think it might be specifically through Kaiser. I'm not 100% sure, but I think so. So sorry if you don't have Kaiser and you can't use it, but good news for you all. I will be sharing a lot of the things that I learned from this app, and it's called My Strength. This one I didn't realize that Kaiser had. I just recently got an email about it, but I checked it out yesterday and it looks amazing. A couple of things that it offers, along with the Calm app, it also gives you a couple of meditation practices that you can try. They also allow you to basically customize what you're looking for, like the type of mental health that you need, which you can change at any time. It can be about managing your depression, which is clearly something that I definitely need to tap into, but also working on being more mindful and exercising and different things like that. So the thing that I wanted to try out first is the 7-day challenge for mindfulness. And so I'm going to take us all on this journey together to try and figure out how to be more mindful. So day 1, the first activity is on judgments and learning to be more non-judgmental. So when you think about it, when we talk about judgmental and being judgmental, what does that really mean? Obviously, we can easily pinpoint when we're being judgmental toward other people, but how often are you paying attention to how judgmental you're being toward yourself? That is something that I don't really pay attention to too much. I know that it happens, but I don't catch it when it does. And so this first challenge is all about being able to catch it in the act, notice it, and then work on, trying not to be so judgy towards yourself. Enough people judge you already. Why be another person added to that list, right? So for this challenge, what they had me do was, for starters, they actually gave a little analogy about windshield wipers, but since I wear glasses, I'm going to use glasses, for example. So for my 4 eyes out there, for my people who got, glasses or contacts or whatever you want to call it, or whatever you use, obviously my my side of choice is by glasses. So there are times when, you're walking around and as the day goes by, your glasses end up picking up all of this dirt, or you accidentally rub your fingers against it, whatever the case may be. As the day goes by, you accumulate all of this nastiness on your glasses. But as time goes on, you also start to kind of get used to it. You get used to the little smudges. You can kind of look past it a bit. I mean, it doesn't allow you to see things around you as clearly, but you can still see things clear enough to where it doesn't bother you because your mind has already kind of gotten used to this new look of your glasses. And the same thing could be said for like windshield wipers. I don't have a car, so I'm going with what I know, which is glasses. When we're talking about being judgmental and what that looks like, you can relate it to a pair of glasses and how as the day goes on, it gets all smudged up and dirty and hazy and nasty, and you don't really even realize it because you're so used to seeing your life in this way. It's not until you clean your glasses and put them back on that you're like, whoa, this is what I've been missing. This is really what the world is looking like right now, not all dreary and a little, dirty and sad. That's basically what judgmental thoughts do to us, right? There are a couple of ways to kind of catch yourself in the act of participating in these judgmental thoughts, and that's language like should or shouldn't, like I should be further along in my career, I shouldn't be spending all my time binge watching Netflix when I could be trying to get better at my craft. And that's how it starts, the language that we use, the things that we think in our minds, because that then translates into our moods and how we feel and our emotions, because those thoughts can lead to now feeling, oh, now I feel useless, helpless, hopeless, disappointed, shameful, frustrated. All of these different emotions come from that singular thought because you decided, you wanted to judge yourself instead of giving yourself the grace of, giving yourself time and patience to allow those moments of, something like binge watching a show just to relax and calm down. So because of that, judgmental, being judgmental is a cycle. You start to see it once you start calling it out and realizing it, then that's when you can start working on ways to get better or do better. With this app and with this day one of like judgmental thinking, the way that you can combat it is by being non-judgmental. So what do I mean when I say non-judgmental? That's basically making a habit of observing things rather than placing a good or bad title on it. So instead of saying, I should be working 10 times harder than I'm doing right now, it could be just a simple observation like, I'm not working right now. I'm binge watching a show, like not saying good or bad, like, oh, it's so good that I finished all my work early that now I can binge watch. It's just, I finished my work early. I'm now binge watching it. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like a robotic type of response or a way of thinking, because I know that I attribute good and bad to a lot of my thoughts. So this is something that is pretty challenging for me, but I think that it is a pretty solid first step in trying to get out of being judgmental, because once we start placing something being good on a thing, then that also means that in our minds we have an example of something that is bad, that's opposite of that. And once we, go into that territory of things, that's when stuff starts to get hazy and we start feeling the way that we feel, which is, not good. And it's just a bad cycle, and that's not the way you want to go with mindfulness. And so being able to name this act or being non-judgmental and just observing your actions, it now allows you to be able to notice when you are being judgmental. So the challenge that the app gives for day one is to spend 1 hour out of your day noticing the moments and the times when you're being judgmental toward any one thing. So it can be things that you're doing, things that other people are doing, the way that you're going about doing things. And then it could be something as simple as marking it on a piece of paper or using the notes app in your phone, whatever's more convenient for you. They even suggested like getting a jar and putting like a coffee bean or a lima bean, whatever you have like inside, so that you can like visually see it like pile up. And really what this is supposed to do is just show you in 1 hour the amount of times that you've judged yourself, whether it's good or bad. We're not really here to determine if your good judgmental thoughts outweigh bad. Like the whole point is that we don't want any type of good or bad in the mix. We want to be as non-judgmental as possible. So if you think that you should be doing something better, notice it, write it down, mark it, do whatever you gotta do. This number doesn't say anything about you. It just shows you how much judgment happens and how you can act upon it. So once the end of that hour is up, I want you to look at that paper and see, how many times judgment has gone through that hour. It could be a lot, it could be a little. If you start to say that it's good or it's bad, that you got, a certain amount, go ahead and add another mark, because again, that is a judgment, whether it's good or bad, and we're trying to eliminate that thought process. And this is something that's going to take time. I did this, and honestly, I kind of forgot that I was trying to do this for an hour. So at first I was very diligent and aware of what I was saying and what I was doing. And in this hour, I was working on editing other podcast things. And I do remember, judging myself and saying, like, I messed up and accidentally linked a different meditation with a different episode than what I was meaning to. This is what happens when you're trying to juggle multiple episodes at a time. And so I had said something like, oh, idiot, or come on, you gotta do better than that, or like, great, now I gotta start all over, and so I was placing bad on it, because I'm like, great, I just wasted 10 minutes doing this when it was wrong, and now I gotta start all over and rework it. So I did those check marks in my head, and a couple of other things that I was realizing I was judging myself for. But again, this is all a learning process. The first step is almost always going to be acknowledging it or noticing it, because how can you start to change something if you don't even know when it's happening, or you don't have the proper clues or instinct to be able to even catch it when it's happening. So this is just a brief little, I think, beginner entryway into trying to do better with being more non-judgmental. And once you start mastering that within yourself, then you can master that within other people, because like I mentioned earlier, it's easy for us to judge others just like how we judge ourselves. So once you start realizing how much you judge yourself, then you can start being able to point out, oh, I'm judging this person and that person for whatever reason. I mean, again, it's human nature, it happens, but we want to try and work on actively being non-judgmental and just observing and not placing good or bad on things. With that being said, I want to challenge all of you to do this exercise as well. So just to kind of repeat it, give yourself 1 hour, whatever time of day you want to do it, and have a sheet of paper and a pen ready, or your notes app ready, and make sure that you're marking the times that you are judging yourself and then making yourself feel less than or useless. And it may be a lot of tick marks, it may not be a lot, you may be like me and kind of forget that you're doing the challenge to begin with. Try and be intentional, don't set a goal, but set a time frame, so that once the timer goes off, then okay, it's been an hour. I am excited to hear and see if y'all like this challenge. Again, this is day 1 of being mindful, and it is on judgment and how to be more non-judgmental. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time.
Thank you for listening. Please make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and follow all the socials at MamMaJism. That's MamMaJism. If you decide you want to financially support me, on my accounts you'll be able to find out how. Thanks in advance. Until we meet again, please be kind to one another. And from the bottom of my heart, I love you.